Welcome to the Just Jim Radio Show. Another day in paradise, at least here in Florida, and really enjoying the beauty of nature around us. Our show is here to share with you information, inspiration, ideas, concepts, techniques, methods that can help you get a better look at you, your life, how things are going, and how to make them a little bit better. At least hopefully that's the idea, and we're here to do that in different formats, interviews, discussions. This morning we're going to be talking about living authentically, something I strive to do every day. I've been working at the last 40 years helping people and find their path, find their truth, counseling, speaking, writing, teaching. There's a lot of different ways to go about doing that, and this is just one of the ways that I put myself out there to share a little bit of who I am with you and join with you in your journey to make life a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun. So I'm just Jim, so I'm here to share my experience, strength, and hope with you in a way that I hope makes a difference. And that living authentically, it sounds like a kind of a fancy title. We could say being real. Being real is an interesting interpretation sometimes, meaning that people might think real is this or real is that, or it might be compared to something that society says or your parents say or the media might say. And let's not go there right now because there's a whole lot of that going on. Authentically is being who you are right now. The interesting part of that is whatever that is, whoever you are, however you see it. This is a mirror thing, not a meeting somebody else's expectations or the world thinking you need to be a certain way. Now, we live in a society, we live in a country, whichever one we do, and in those countries, cultures, in these societies that we have chosen to participate in and belong, there are certain norms and paradigms and things that are going on that, as we are choosing to be there, we participate in, that way. Yet, that's only the circumstances and situations that surround us and then have an influence on us. And here we are in our 7th month now of circumstances and situations that are definitely causing some influence and impact on our lives. And so the question is, who am I in this process? What does that mean? How can I figure that out? How if I know who I am, how can I live more authentically, more real, more there in the way that I want to? And then as you're choosing to do that, how can that then bring me the fulfillment I'm looking for, or the happiness that I'm seeking, or the ability to create or manifest? So that's some of what we're going to be talking about is how we can find that place of who we are, how we can live more open and real and true to ourselves, to those who we love and care about in our close to home kind of world. And then, boy, we're all emerging and stepping back out into it. So how we do that is going to be really, really important. It's going to be really, really important that we're real with ourselves, with each other, with the world, for everybody's sake. Part of the process of living authentically is having a way to go about doing that. And I have a list of the top 10 ways to live authentically, and we're going to talk about a few of them today. I'm also going to be teaching a class on Facebook Live through Sarasota Center of Light. I'm the pastor there, and that'll be coming up in October on the 6th. So check that out, and we'll take a little bit of what I'm talking about here and really look at how we can apply it in your life. So there are certain words that we talk about that tend to be universal words that we all recognize, and at the same time, we're trying to understand what they are because they have that kind of mystical meaning to them sometimes. And one of them is purpose. One of the ways you can live authentically is to know your purpose. Well, what does that mean? When you're fulfilling your purpose, it's like all of you is satisfied. All of you feels as if you're there being who you are. And when I say all of you, we're all physical, emotional, mental. We're spiritual beings, however you look or feel about that. And so knowing how, when you show up, it is fulfilling to your heart, to your soul, to your mind, to your emotions, to the world you live in, because it's not just about, the mystical things. It's also about how we can live our life and really, truly be happy. And that starts, as we all know, like at that core, at the beginning of us. And that's where our authentic self is. Not flavored by the perceptions that we have, or the layers of judgment we have about ourselves, or the situations we've experienced, or life as we know it that surrounds us. It starts at that very core of who we are. And purpose is a part of what drives us each day. So taking the time to look within and taking the time to stop and see what is your purpose, or how you can live purposefully. Living purposefully is looking at how you can show up in alignment with what you know is true. Some of the other things on the list are talking about values, needs, passions, strengths. We have this opportunity to bring who we are into the world in a way that makes a difference first for us. Because as we get a chance to feel good about the I am, we are being, our life becomes an expression of that, an experience of that. And then what's coming from us in that purposeful way, or that place of knowing within ourselves what is real and what matters and how we can bring it into the world. Then we show up with those who we love, our friends, our co-workers, our those in our world, our communities, our country, our lives, as something that is not only satisfying to us, but makes a difference. Because we're being real, and there's no perception, almost veils between us and others. You're just you. And that's what allows us to live more effortlessly and gracefully. We also have so much to look at when it comes to how we can show up. I mentioned values. That's a word not used as often. What do you value? What's more important to you than anything else? What are your needs? Are they being fulfilled? Are you taking care of yourself? Many of us are out there taking care of other people, and yet we need to know what we need also. And these are pieces of the puzzle that we can begin to look at, kind of like going into our being, like within, so to speak, as if it was a big mansion of some sort. I like mansion better than house because it's bigger, probably fancier. It's got a few more gadgets and things in it. So we're going into our mansion, and there's all kinds of rooms and spaces and places. It's multi-story if you like, or it's really big and spread out, whichever works best for you. And you're just taking a look at the different pieces of the whole of who you are when we're talking about values or needs. These are things that matter. I mentioned strengths, what you can bring to the world. And I mentioned earlier, it's really, really important, no matter what you see, that's what you can choose to be. Now, in every case, we know anything that shows up that doesn't feel right or you don't like, you can do something about it. You can change it. That's not what we're really talking about here as much. We're talking about letting go of trying to be something and to be who you already are. And what happens then is you arrive. You arrive. Boy, you've heard that before. You arrive. And as you do, you find yourself there. I like to say, it can be a number of different things. If you're somebody who likes to think or is trying to figure some things out, you might be looking in your mental mirror. If you're having a situation that's stirring a lot of emotions for you, you might be looking in your emotional mirror. If you're looking deep into your heart and soul, you might be looking into your spiritual mirror. There's different ways of looking at ourselves, and then we're the only ones that can identify clearly who we are. Now, this is only that piece that is the beginning, because I'm not talking about identifying who you are. I'm talking about living as that. So rather than the discussion going to how I can fix what I don't like, which you always have the option to do, it is important to look at what you value. It is important to look at what your needs are and begin to shape this next moment, this next hour, this next day around contributing your being who you are to what matters, what's valuable to you, or to fulfill your needs. To be selfish because, and not in a negative way, but to be selfish because you're making yourself a better person for everybody else as you begin to bring yourself into the world. Speaking of doing that, one of the things on the list that I really like, a term I really like, and I really do strive in every way I can. Sometimes my wife will tell me that I do it a little bit too much. Living inside out. I'm just one of those kind of guys that pretty much says whatever's on his mind or in his heart. And I always have a rule, with respect for myself and others. And, sometimes I'm playful and lighthearted and it can even be sarcastic. So I have to be careful in the way that I portray myself in the world. I don't mean like be careful in not being who I really am. We all have to have respect, or we should have respect for each other and ourselves, and however we do that. And God, don't get me started on that right now. Look to the news, look at social media, look at our world. There's so many things going on that are stirring up how everybody decides they need to say what's really going on, but not necessarily in a way that, is beneficial or helping each other. So when you're living inside out, Just Jim said, live inside out. Be conscious of your thoughts and your feelings and your choices and your actions. These are your expression into your world that creates your experience for yourself and others. Pay attention, to the decisions and actions and interactions. These are key, not only to the world as you encounter it or experience it, as you bring yourself living authentically into it. It's important because you end up in each moment or at the end of each day or as you wake up with yourself. No matter who you're with or what's in your life, you're the one that you have to answer to. And I don't mean guilt and I don't mean judgment. I mean you're back to looking in that mirror saying, who am I? And if you can stand there and say, I am, and you can feel that in your thoughts, in your feelings, in your choices, and in your actions, and show up in your life, however that is, right then, right there, you're living authentically. Now, on this list are know your passions. I mean, our passions can sometimes get us out there more than not stirring them and not having them, because the passion is that spark inside of you that as you encounter something or think of something or